Oh, thank you.
Hey everyone, before we get this episode started, also, I wanted to sound like a YouTuber, that's why I started off with, hey everyone, like, subscribe below. You know how YouTubers are. Okay, but before we get started, I want y'all to know we are going extra big with the All-Star season of Vulnerability Time podcast. So, guess what? We got video podcast. So, click in the episode description below if you wish to watch the video of the podcast as well. It'll be a YouTube link, so you can go ahead and get it going and get watching it. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe below. Such a YouTuber, right? Anyways, folks, enjoy the episode. I don't know why I'm laughing.
That's okay.
Folks, it is great to be back for another episode of Vulnerability Time, the All-Star season. John is back.
Hello.
Hey, John. Okay, so I already had a mini fangirl with John really quick about his camera. Y'all are seeing this, right? Y'all are seeing what? He looks great. The camera looks great. The colors are amazing. Wow, it's like I'm watching a sitcom TV show. It's just amazing.
It. They probably have much better cameras to use, but I think some of them still might use some of the Sony cameras, and that's actually what I'm using right now. It's a Sony A7 IV. Just as a quick tech blurb, that's the camera I normally take around whenever I go and take pictures that I put on Instagram and whatnot. That's usually my weapon of choice, pretty much as of now. I still like to try other kits in the Sony ecosystem, but I learned the other day that evidently the software is set up in such a way to where you can plug it into a computer and use it as a webcam. So this is actually the first time I'm trying it, but I'm impressed by it. So I probably will continue to use it when I can. We'll see.
Yeah, as you should be impressed by it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, John, before we get into our topics, which is going to be, honestly, you're going to take the lead in whatever the topics are, but at least the topics that we threw out there were easy to receive, bad, hard to receive, good. The I care what people think, and then the right mistake at the right time. And then I forgot what the fourth one is. We both forgot, but
I might need to look. Actually,
look.
Let me dig for a second.
Yes.
Let me find what
While
it
John
was.
does that, I'm going to go ahead and stall. And I don't know how to stall, folks, but, we're just going to be here, and we're going to, patience is a virtue, so we're going to...
And I think I found that fourth bullet point. I think it's okay to learn and not know all. I think that might be
yes, that was it.
I had to find what it was. I was like, I think that's the one, so we'll go for that.
Okay. Fab. Okay, so folks, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. But first, John, oh my God, hi, good to see you again.
Hello again. It's been, a year since we did this last?
Yeah, it's been a year. So, So what are you currently doing now for work? You're an instructor, right?
No, but I am kind of like a project engineer of sorts. Of course, I kind of hopped around a little bit. Like work kind of took me a couple different places in the last year. It's like I was dabbling into software development again, and then I got asked to try maybe doing something like project engineering, which is kind of more of a helping manage a project, which I liked. There were some neat opportunities for work where I got to travel, which I know I had never been to California until I had to go out there, and I did it 3 times, and it was fun. I got to see that, got to meet some of the developers out there in the desert, got to see some cool stuff. And then after a while, it's obviously when you're managing a project of a lot of people at a project that I was working on, it's kind of overwhelming sometimes. And so for me, I was like, I probably need to take a break. And so I kind of took a step back and tried to focus on more development again, just to try to help get that back in.
Yeah.
But it seems like I might be going back the other direction. I'm not sure yet. So we'll see what it goes, but it's been a very eventful 12 months since we last spoke. But that's kind of been more or less what I've done, at least for work purposes. Now, obviously, I still try to keep myself busy outside of work. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that I share, whether it's music or photography. It's a creative itch that I have to keep satisfied. And so I try to keep that on board when I can.
John, are you gonna be in like the South Texas area around like Houston in December? I need my grad photos taken. But if you're not gonna
we'll see. I'll definitely be in Southeast Texas at least in December. There's some. November is going to be a busy month, obviously. I think for some other stuff I got planned, but December I definitely will be back for at least 2 weeks. So, yeah, because again, you're graduating. Your degree is from what university?
In criminal justice. Yeah, it'll
from
be
Lamar.
At Lamar.
Perfect. Okay, that's the location we can use.
Yeah. Well, But I do it online. So I currently live in Houston and Austin.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
that still counts, I think. Yes, an online degree is still a degree from Lamar, so that counts, I'd say.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you are in the area, like
I'll let you know.
Area, let me know.
I will gladly do so.
Yeah, I have it like all planned out and everything. I just remember like after I graduated, I was like, next time I graduate, I want to do graduate photos like this. Yeah, so I got it all planned out. Everything is just ready. I'm just living my best life.
I've never done a Cedar portrait session before, so you'll have to instruct me on how we do that because it'll be new for me.
Yes. Gotcha. Teamwork, dreamwork.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, John, out of those discussion topics, I'll let you lead. John, what would you like to discuss first?
Oh, goodness. Let me think.
What are we going in?
We might go in reverse order, I think. I know just because a big event that happened for me, that goes in line, I think, with the right mistake at the right time. And so I think I can share that earlier this year, I started looking for a house just for the heck of it, just because I had a couple of friends that they were at a point in their lives where they could start looking for a house. And I know that's often a smart economic decision, just because obviously whenever you procure a house, it's yours. You're not throwing away your money in terms of rent and all this fun jazz. And that's especially prevalent in a market like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, just because a lot of people are moving to Dallas-Fort Worth. And so with that, it's a smart financial decision to have an asset that you can appraise that gains value over time with equity, especially with everybody coming in. And so I think I'll do that. I'll start looking to see. I still don't want to commit just yet, but I'll do my due diligence and look and kind of explore the process. But that was kind of what it was for most of the first half of the year. But then in about, when was it? I think it was pretty much the last day of June. There was an offering from a house builder I had not really considered, but there were just a lot of things on paper that sounded really, really good. And so with that, I was like, man, maybe I should do it. And part of the incentivizing factor was that there was, trying to avoid technicalities here, but there was an incentive regarding covering warranty. Like a lot of new builds will tend to have a 10-year foundation warranty. And of course, when you're buying a house, you don't have to get a new build, but there's just things I like about having a brand new build. And so with that, there was some stipulation about where that builder was going to be transitioning to a 6-year foundation warranty instead of 10 the next day. So if I contracted with them that day, I could move forward with them. And so I said, with that and some other factors in terms of what monthly mortgage payments would be and some other stuff, I was like, maybe this could be good. And so I went ahead and I put earnest money down on the house. And I was like, I don't really feel great about it yet, but we're going to press forward with it and see how it goes. And so as it went on, there were still some communities I was looking at that I kind of wanted to explore. And so for the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks, pretty much, I really pitted other different builders against that one I was looking at. And then for various reasons, whether the price was out of the range or the builders tried to do a bait and switch on me to try to force me to sell in some ways, pretty much everything fell off except for the one that I had initially made the earnest deposit on, which was kind of a relief in a way because it kind of made it less about getting the right property to look at as opposed to, do I continue to lease or do I just go ahead and commit to the house? And so at this time, just the way the timing worked, I didn't really have a chance to kind of get out of Dallas-Fort Worth and see how other cities around Texas do things when it comes to new build houses. But ultimately what it came down to is that I got really, really close to basically the week of closing, which is whenever you actually go to the title company, you make your down payment and you commit to the house pretty much. And through that process, between the month pretty much from the time that I had made that time, when I made that earnest deposit, I compared with other houses and I eventually got it right up to the closing point. It was like, it's now or never, it's go or no go on this house. I learned a considerable amount about houses and mortgages and then a lot of stuff I didn't know before, but also how the quality of things are built. And that was something that I know whenever I basically did virtual tours with some of friends and family as I got their thoughts on the matter. A lot of them had good things to say about the house I was looking at. But there were some concerns that I had that I didn't really feel good about. And neither did some other folks that I knew and trusted. Like my parents, they've owned two at this point, but my dad has been around carpenters a lot and they had a custom built house. And so through that process, he could tell, even over a video call, it's like, okay, that is some messy quarter rounder. That's some messy caulking work. That's some messy wood used in some of the construction. And so between that, I didn't really feel like I was in love with the house. It was one of those things where I felt like I had to make it work instead of I actively wanted the house. And there are times in my life where sometimes I know I shouldn't trust my gut, but there are times where you should. But ultimately, the way that it went was basically we were down to about 3 days before I was supposed to close. And there were a lot of things at that house that didn't really seem premium or built correctly, I feel like. Like there were walls and corners that weren't straight, or there were countertops that were crooked. And the common verbiage in a lot of new builds is that every new build is going to have stuff wrong with it. And that's true, but the stuff that was wrong with it, I feel like I really was not sure about. Like if my apartment, which was built in the middle of COVID, in the middle of a material shortage, in the middle of a labor shortage, was built with straighter lines and nicer furnishings and whatnot, I feel like the house should be the same thing. And so between those things, and while they were assuring me is like, yeah, we're going to get those things fixed before you close. During that process, they were making progress. So they were honest about their efforts, which was great. I was hoping that they would be. But even still, I just felt like we were 3 days away from when I was supposed to close. And as much things still had to be fixed, and I did not want to commit to something that wasn't fixed, I still didn't really feel comfortable about it. And so with all of that, I decided to withdraw from the property. And so while I lost my earnest money, honestly, that was a consequence I knew and I was willing to accept going into it. But that being said, coming out of that process, I learned a tremendous amount. And honestly, even after I pulled out, I just simply felt relieved. Like I felt like I could stop worrying about houses and mortgages and what the markets would do. I would just get back to living my own life the way that it was. I could focus on my hobbies. I could focus on studying things. I could focus on work again. And that was like a breath of fresh air. And in truth, I'm glad that I did not follow through with committing to that property, because I went home about a couple of weeks later and my dad said, hey, there's a new build community going up in this area of Bridge City, Texas. Let's go look at those. I was like, okay. So we went down there, and this is a local builder in the Southeast Texas, Louisiana area. But I saw those houses, and frankly, I feel like they were putting a lot of the luxury builders in Dallas-Fort Worth to shame in terms of just the way that they handled the work site. Like it was actually clean. You could walk around. There wasn't like bottles left around and everything like that. The wood that they used when they build the house was not glued together by the teeth, which most builders do nowadays. It was a single unbroken piece of wood, dark color, nicely sanded, no blemishes, if any. The ceilings were a foot higher in every room. The garage and the driveways were about twice as long, generally. And the furnishings, there was brick around the back of the house, a lot of nice furnishings that are pre-furnished, like actually having an island in every floor plan, small to big, and ceiling fans in every room. And I like the way that it was designed. Now, again, it's not apples to apples, because Dallas-Fort Worth is certainly not Bridge City, Texas. But the point stands is that it's like, if I was going to invest that much money in a house, I want to love it, because a lot of things that I bought in my life, were not basically the best choice on paper by specifications. Like if I, like 4 years ago, whenever I got the car that I'm driving now, if I had gone off the spec sheet,
40?
40? No, 4. Did I say 40?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I'm not that old yet. I'm sorry.
I know, right? So like,
I'm sorry.
40?
4 years ago, whenever I got my car, I tried a lot of cars in that crossover class. And had I gone off the spec sheet, I would have picked a different vehicle. I just didn't really like the way that they felt. And so I eventually settled on one make that I really, really liked, because it felt good and it performed well and it still was good enough for what I needed to do. And 4 years later, I still do not regret that decision.
Right.
And then 3 years ago, whenever I was searching for apartments for myself, I found this place. It's not the biggest apartment you can get for your dollar. It's about 650 square feet. It's not massive, but it still works for me. And 3 years later, I'm so glad I got that decision. I never once felt that way about that house, unfortunately. And a house is a bigger commitment, especially because it's just, at this point in time, it's just me that would be paying for that house. And while it did have a lot of specifications to offer, a good area, it was about 1769 square feet, big room. So I could really have a lot of space to grow out in that space. But my thought was, it's like, well, the reality is, for as much as I have that when people come to visit, I really wasn't going to use that space. And so could I get by another year leasing? Realistically, I could. And I also thought that while I may not need a house like that, there might be a young family or a young couple or a single mother and her kids that are trying to find a place that's got some room to live in, and that house has it, and the affordability as well. And so that was a case where it's like, yes, it cost me earnest money, but I learned an awful lot about that process, and I gave somebody else a better property than what they may have been able to find elsewhere, and they'd had more time to negotiate building defects with the builder. So that's kind of a really long misadventures of John Ellis type scenario, but that is just kind of an illustration of how I made a right mistake at the right time. Because whenever I try this process again, I can at least say that I know a lot more now than I did basically about a month or two ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the right mistake also brought the right lessons.
Yes. Yeah. And that's always kind of hard to internalize, because like I know for me, there are some things where I fixate on the fact that it was a mistake, and I'm just like, crap, I made a mistake. What's this going to cost me? Yeah, it's like, did I waste time? Did I waste money? And so it's hard to see the converse side of that, but I think that's just kind of how, as people in general, especially I think for folks like us, we tend to hyperfixate on the negatives. And that's, we can talk about like, oh, I'm going to make this change and not thinking like that, but it's a paradigm shift that is so ingrained. It's not an overnight shift. It takes so much time and patience from yourself, and I think other people as well. So being in an environment that lets you do that really is important depending on where you're at, I feel like.
Yeah. That's the advertisement bit right there, John.
Okay.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah, please do.
I was like, okay.
What did I say? I just forgot what I said.
Hey, it was amazement. That's what it was.
Thank you.
Okay. 1532 17.
That was a good idea to use a timestamp instead of the tagline.
Yeah, when I undo the advertisement, probably like tomorrow, I'm gonna like do like a little sneak peek and post it on my story.
Gotcha. There you go. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, like the Instagram story advertising. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. You know, a little sneak peek before it comes out, and then like I'll do like the actual advertisement when, you know, the episode's about to be released. But
gotcha.
People something
That'd be fun.
to look forward to. Yeah, John. What? That was just fun. John, do you guest speak a lot?
I don't. On truth. I mean, I do sometimes will do. Really, in terms of speaking, the only thing that I do actually is I just do audio sample recordings for the Lamar Marching Band, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm an announcer of sorts, but not. But part of it is because I think in 2015, that was after my first year at Lamar. That's when Dr. Shannon, who's still the director of athletic bands in Lamar, he and I kind of started talking about ways that we can kind of up the advertising game and the digital presence of the marching band at Lamar. And one of the things that we kind of came across was obviously they have the scoreboard at Lamar, a brand new one too. I've yet to see it, but I'm excited to see it. It looks nice. But usually the band would come onto the field with a video playing on the scoreboard. And
wait, when did they get this new scoreboard? Was this like
recently? Evidently, I think they were installing it in the summer
after 2020.
Yes. Yeah. I think this summer. Yeah. This summer, I think I went down there and I happened to see that the scoreboard was just gone. They had frames by the stadium. So I didn't see them put them in, but I did see pictures of the first game this past Thursday, I think is when it was. Brand new scoreboard, much, much bigger display. They changed the Lamar alt text to the interlocking LU at the top.
Yeah.
So it looks really, really nice. I'm looking forward to seeing it in person.
Gotcha. Yeah. You have to send me a photo of that.
I will.
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah. But on that board, we'd have a video that we'd play, and I don't know how I ended up doing the read of the announcer voice saying that, like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the field the 20XX Showcase of Southeast Texas. But that stuck, and apparently stuck, and I've been doing that since 2015. So I think this year will mark the 8th year that I've done that. Yes, the 8th year. 8th year I've been doing that. So that's kind of the extent of the speaking that I do, really.
You have such a guest speaking voice. Like,
Thank
I could
you.
just listen to your podcast episode alone. Like, I could just listen. Like, you can read multiple audiobooks. Like, you could be the audiobook speaker.
I thought about maybe doing that for fun because it's I know if I ever got the chance to do an audiobook dubbing or do a dubbing of an anime or something like that, an English dub, I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be kind of fun in truth.
Yeah. Perfect voice. And
thank you.
Very articulate with it. Oh my gosh, John, just go run for president. My goodness.
I won't be able to do that.
You got a president voice.
That was a compliment that people gave me at work, is that it's I see you doing more project management stuff just because you're a really good speaker. It's I see you talking to customers about projects over talking about code. And it'd be good for me to know code, I feel like. And because I know that would make me feel more comfortable about interacting with the main folks that are making the magic happen. Yeah. Still, it's I confess I like to talk. My parents told me
just amazing.
My parents told me that whenever I was born, I let the world know. And so maybe I've just always been loud.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the case. I don't know.
It's very respected.
Is
how
it?
You talk, it's just very respected. It's just.
I try to be.
Yeah, you just embody. When you speak, it's just. I feel like. And if this doesn't make sense, let me know. I feel like you don't talk, you speak.
I see that. Yeah. I can see that. I think it depends on the area as well, because I can still engage in colloquial conversation with people, and I think sometimes it also depends. I think on how far I've noticed the further away I get from the mic, I lose some of the low end when I speak, and so whenever I'm talking with somebody in the office, I may not sound like this, but whenever I get in front of a microphone, and you hear the low ends, it's oh, that makes sense. It's I remember when I was in the summer of 2017, I interned with a nonprofit that sponsored the Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps, but there was a drum corps show in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania that we were setting up and hosting, and they asked me to announce for the show, actually. And so people in the office had heard me talk before, but when we were doing mic tests in the early afternoon before the show started, I did some test reads, and the guys came down, they're like, I didn't know that was you in the box until you started saying some other stuff that didn't sound announcer-like. And it's oh, so you're pretty good at this. And so I was it's fun.
Yeah, I've heard you speak before. I remember I saw you at Lamar, and I heard you speak before, just you were just casually talking. So, you sound very similar. I will say that. You sound similar as you are now on the mic. I feel like
it helps.
Both environments, you sound like a great speaker, and it's just I don't know, it's just the projection and just It's just, I don't know, John. Like,
I was a theater kid in high school. Now, that's a little misleading because like I did crew for my first 2 years, and my last year I was doing a play, and they had me read a part for the play we were doing, and so I accepted it. Whenever I got offered the part, I was like, sure, I'll do it, and that was kind of the beginning of that. But I think I've always just kind of been loud in general, to my fault sometimes. But nevertheless, it's always kind of therapeutic to kind of just project. So
yeah,
I don't mind doing it.
I don't really hear loud.
You don't hear loud?
I don't hear loud. I hear confident.
It depends on the subject. It's like because I know I've been told even at work, it's like depending on some subjects, you can tell when you know what you're talking about and when you don't. And so when I don't, I kind of get pretty quiet or I get unsure of myself. It's like a deer in the headlights scenario. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But when I know what I'm talking about, I tend to ramble and get excited about it. I tend to maybe overshare. I don't really know, but it's my vice. I like to be loud, but I also like to be courteous if I can. It's like I'll project when I have to, but obviously I want to try to watch how I say things sometimes, not to come across as too much or too strong, which I think was the last thing we had talked about. Was times whenever you feel like you're too much. I don't know. It depends.
So, based off what you just said, we're twins. You're definitely twins. John, what's your personality type? Just curious, before we move on to the next subject, what's your personality type?
Myers-Briggs. So I'm an INFJ, T, I think.
INFJ-T?
INFJ-T.
INFJ-T, same thing.
Yes, yeah.
I'm that.
No kidding.
Do you know there's only 2% of us in this country, right, that are INFJ?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, it's like we are in a minority, but we're also the type that kind of we rub right up along against between an I and an E. So people think we're extroverted, but we're not.
Exactly.
So yeah, I was like, that is the nail on the head. I have definitely seen that before. No kidding. Wow.
Yes.
Small world.
I can tell. Like I just genuinely can tell. I can tell. Wow.
I forget. And remind me again the subdivision of all those letters. It's like, cause it's introverted, intuitive, feeling and judgmental, and turbulent. Is that what they are?
INFJ. Turbulent.
Yeah.
I know that. The dash T is turbulent.
Then J is judgmental, I think.
I think so.
As opposed to thinking, which is the T inverse, I think. And then working our way back, INF. What is it? Feeling?
I'm not sure. I mean, it would make sense if it's feeling, but I'm not sure. You got to look it up. I was about to say, I'm not to look it up, but you got it. You got this.
Thankfully, I'm on the Mac, so I can bring it up. Here we go. So INFJ is introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging. That makes sense. And then these personality types, I see Carl Jung, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Martin Luther King Jr. as three examples.
We got a lot of like notable names.
I think so. And I read a longer list. I forgot who I saw on there, but I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there were INFJs. That's pretty slick. I like it.
Very, very rare. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see it as INFJT. Or you'll see INFJ-T. Just letting you know it's the same thing, literally.
Okay, that helps. Yeah, that's
literally the same thing.
And I forget what the inverse suffix is. It's turbulent and then something else. I forget what the other one is. That'd be the one.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. Oh my god.
Twins, to your point. Yeah.
Very much. That's what the T also stands for. John and Josiah's twins. That's what that stands for.
Yeah. Turbulent twins, T squared.
Honestly, right?
Yeah.
Wow, well, it's good to meet another fellow INFJ-T. I think I can count the number on one hand of how many INFJs that I've met just in general.
Same here. Yeah. I mean, because I feel like I think I've got a couple of friends that did the Myers-Briggs test, but I know none of them were INFJs. I was the only one who did. And so I was like, I guess I get to be a cool kid in the sense that at least I was at least unique in that way. But now I know that there's more of us. So I was like,
yeah,
INFJ team. Woo.
Yeah.
Bring them on.
We have don't get me started on that. That's a whole episode. We can go there.
I know.
Oh,
we can certainly can.
Because like we have some like we definitely have some like quality. I don't want to say bad qualities. I would say qualities that I wish I didn't have.
Yes, yeah.
You know, because it's like, though we have like a lot of great qualities, you know, we have a lot of great qualities, you know, we also do hurt.
Very easily. Yeah.
I know that's kind of like a surface level statement, but, you know, for the sakes of the episode and of your time, you know, but from your reaction, it seems like you can understand that statement.
Very much so, yeah. Because I know one of the things I think I've heard about INFJs is that they usually tend to be more empathetic among other personality types, and that's what I've always considered to be, I think, maybe a weakness, but also one of my greatest strengths, because I look a lot at other people, down to the level of like, how are they sitting in their chair? How are they oriented in a meeting? How do they phrase certain things? Like the body language, and also just gesturing, the word choice, all that. I read a lot into that. And while there is a threshold of being excessive, and that's where the worry part comes in. Yeah. But still, I also think that's good, because it to me, it try to makes me put myself in somebody else's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from, or how do I talk to them. And so I think that's, I think I've also read that INFJs tend to attract people just in general. Like they seem to be very social people, but also empathetic. And while I'm probably not the biggest social butterfly that I've met bigger social butterflies than I am, but at the same time, the point still stands, is that it's like, you can put yourself in somebody else's position. You want to hear what they say and try to understand them. Yeah. I think we tend to internalize that, though, a lot.
1,000%.
To the point of self-deprecating tendencies even. And I think that's something that even I struggle with, because it's like, especially if you try to be, especially like INFJs in leadership, that can be challenging, because like I know some people, we take that empathy element too far, and we feel like that if we don't meet the expectations of some people around us, that's bad on us. We have failed as people or as leaders. And that's something that even I have not gotten out of yet. That was something that I've struggled with in every leadership position I've been in my life. It's like, I want to help these people to the best I know how, but I don't always know the best how. And it's like, what do I have that right to stand before them in that way?
And we can be hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
You see, a lot of us fall under the realm, a lot of INFJ-Ts. I'm not saying other people don't, but a lot of INFJs, we fall under the realm of perfectionism.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of INFJs also have a mild form of autism.
Interesting. Or some form of neurodivergence, you think, as well?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, but from what
I can see that.
I've researched, mild form of autism. The thing about that is, you know, a lot of people who have ADHD actually don't. They actually have a mild form of autism. The thing is, like, ADHD and a mild form of autism, they often look so alike.
Interesting.
So I found out that I don't have ADHD. I actually just have a mild form of autism.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
I would have never once suspected that, to tell you the truth.
It's
either or. I was saying either ADHD or autism. I would have never anticipated that.
Oh, I definitely could see the ADHD in me, but it's just like, yeah, it's definitely, you know, a mild form of autism. So it's and we tend to. Folks with mild form of autism, we tend to talk a lot.
Like oversharing? Like they deem it oversharing, typically?
Oversharing does fall under the realm of talking a lot.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I'm just gonna, you know, say what I've, but I'm just gonna say what I've researched. I don't want to like.
That's good, yeah, because I'm learning about it myself as well, actually.
Yeah,
so
same. I'm scared to say the wrong thing when it comes to something like this. I'm scared to say the wrong thing in general, but when it comes to something like this,
Obviously, that'll be up to us and viewers to make sure we can fact check and to verify as well. Because I think I've heard differing opinions on, because obviously you got a lot of people with different opinions. There's some commonalities, but everyone's going to have their own take, I think, on their own experiments or their own observations to understand certain conditions as well. But I also digress.
Yeah.
But to your point, what were you saying? I'm so sorry.
I had to. No, you're fine. I understand. I'm an IFJ. We don't gotta apologize to each other.
No.
But we're going to by default.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
I had to go through like a lot of tests to, find out that okay, it is a mild form of autism instead of ADHD.
I see.
A lot of people are quickly diagnosed with ADHD because it's the easiest, it's the most known, and they look a lot alike. A lot of people, Asperger's and ADHD also look a lot alike.
Interesting.
To a certain extent, but from what I did read, when I was doing some research, and now it's not like I've done like extensive research. So
Nor have I.
But it seems like folks who are INFJ who have ADHD, we most likely don't. We most likely have a mild form of autism.
Interesting.
And not ADHD. It just looks very, very, very much alike. And we also have, we also are extremely intelligent.
I see.
Very, very intelligent. So, fun fact.
Yeah.
I love to use the new term that they're coming out with, that they're normalizing more, ERD.
ERD?
It stands for Emotional Regulation Disorder.
I see.
And that's another term for BPD. Now, both, in my opinion, both borderline personality disorder and ERD, emotional regulation disorder, they don't truly capture what the actual disorder is. I just think borderline personality disorder is more misleading than ERD. And I've done tons of research on borderline personality disorder /ERD. I'm diagnosed with it. Now,
I see.
I have healed and am healing so much with it. I no longer do the whole, I forgot what it's called. I can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. But it's where, I know it. Give me 1 second. Give me literally.
Yeah, no worries.
I can't think of it.
That's okay.
I can't. No time do I not think of it, but now.
That's okay.
But
it probably can be at some point, maybe.
There's a lot of like the traits that I really did not like about it. That thankfully, because of therapy, I was able to heal through, because but there are some traits that I got rid of all the traits that could harm people.
I see.
Because what we would do is we would I can't think of the word, but we would just cut someone off because
what is the word for that? It obviously has to do with setting up boundaries, which is, I think, normal healthy behavior in general.
It's a word for it, because it's not like cutting people off, but it's like that, but it's just like a different context.
Right. Yeah. Not just isolation. Like it's not just isolation, but
I'm looking it up right now.
Yes. Yeah. I know I've heard the term. What is the word? I'm blanking on that now, actually.
It's folks, bear with us.
Yes. Ghosting, maybe? Let's see. Sorry, I'm typing. Which way?
Something similar to that.
Yeah, ghosting is kind of more like social anxious.
Right. They look the same, cutting off, ghosting. They look the same on paper, but like there's that. They look the same on surface. That's why.
Right, but the intention's different. Is like one is
Right,
kind of I'm afraid to talk to this person. Another one is like this person is toxic. I must cut them out of my life in some way.
Yeah, and this one it's also dealing with, and then the one with borderline personality disorder is, in that intense fear of rejection, or
Rejection sensitivity disorder, something like that. Because I've heard that referred to as well. Because I've heard that with BPD and ADHD. Yeah. I feel like I've heard it too at some point, but I forget.
It's gonna bother me if I don't figure it out. I know.
No worries.
John, can you go ahead and stall for us the best you can?
I can do what I can. Let me think. So, oh my goodness, let me think. And then we can always trim the section as well.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's funny because I'm just putting you on the table.
Yeah.
Gosh.
What is it called? Let me think.
It's literally on the tip of my tongue. Okay, what?
Oh wait, where's my? I'm gonna look with you. Actually, we can probably trim this.
Dude.
Yeah, we can trim this section when editing. Let's see, cutting someone out of your life.
Yeah, folks, while you're waiting, go ahead and reflect on the wisdom that John shared with us earlier.
There was a word for it.
This is ridiculous. I cannot believe it that I don't. Splitting!
I've never heard that one before, actually.
There we go. Splitting. Wow.
I hadn't heard that one before, actually.
It was on the tip of my tongue. Yes, splitting. Now, splitting involves a multitude of things. All are in splitting. But one of the ways is it's a person having difficulty to accurately assess another individual or situation. That's leading to us thinking that this person's going to abandon us. It can also lead to intensely polarizing view of others, for instance, either very good or very bad. And that's one of the aspects that's one of the branches of abandonment. Now, it's not saying that BPD, that all people with BPD have that. It's just saying that it's highly common. But I currently, thankfully, for years now, I haven't, that's finally away from me.
Good.
Thankfully, right? Yeah, but I've been diagnosed with BPD, and I all the parts that are, that would affect others, such as splitting, that's all gone, thankfully. I still got a few parts that are just lovely.
That's okay.
They're just lovely towards me. They're just.
I have my own emotional deficiencies as well. That's the way I call them. That's probably not the best word to use for it, but I mean they're characteristics that get in my way and have hindered me, I think, in a lot of aspects of my life as well, that I still am working through, that I feel like I should be past at this point. But some things you can try to mitigate them as best you can, but like the fear of rejection and the fear of abandonment, that's, even if it's strange, there are times in my life where I've never been abandoned, thankfully, per se, but there are things where I act as if I'm afraid of being abandoned or some way. It's strange. It's like even though I know it's like if I make a mistake in a project, or I make a mistake in a performance, like a community band or something else like that, I have this feeling in that I worry. It's like, crap, I screwed up. Are they going to view me any differently now? Right. And it's almost
rejection is a form of abandonment, and that's the cool thing about, not cool thing. That's the thing about BPD. It's not everyone who has that fear of abandonment was abandoned growing up.
I see.
Yeah. So it's they're not exclusive to each other. Or now my tongue is getting twisted. So
that's okay.
It's not like someone has to be abandoned for them to fear it.
Right. Yeah.
It's so complicated, isn't it?
It can affect everybody in different ways, depending on how they grew up or how people interact with them as well. And it depends on what it is. But I do know, even in whenever I I say whenever I'm working on things or perform things and I screw up and I feel like I've failed the group, if in a way I observe looking back that I tend to acknowledge my mistake, even if people compliment that I did well on something like that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the reason why I do that is because I instinctively am trying to garner some type of validation, or to assert. It's like, yes, I made this mistake. I know I made this mistake. Maybe just to try to retrieve a validation or a validating comment to say it's like they haven't abandoned me. And it's like, I don't want to say that I spend my life trying to garner comments or compliments from people. I don't, but I also want to feel like that even though I failed, that I still matter, or like I still here. I still want to help, and so that's maybe where some of that behavior comes from. 100%. Maybe.
And our perfectionism doesn't help with that, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And you might get hyper fixated on perfectionism that's misguided. It's like you think it should be one way, and so you just tend to hyper focus on that. Yeah. But in reality, somebody else has a much more intuitive solution that is instantly better, and that's what we go with. So you didn't have to be so worried about it before, and then I feel stupid. It's like, crap, why did I spend so much time fixating on something and looking like a fool in front of these people that I'm trying to prove that I'm not incompetent, that I actually can execute what I've been asked to do. But it depends on the people, but that's something that I've learned, and thankfully engineers have helped me learn that, thankfully, that generally, while you can hyperfixate on something, generally an engineer's job is to find a better way. And so it's trying to separate the illogical fears that come from just trying to perform well and trying to be accepted in wherever in the group or the place wherever you work, the natural logical inclination of us as people, not just engineers, but everybody. And so they're great mentors to learn from in that way.
John, are you okay with coming back for part 2?
Yes. Yeah. And if you want to film part 2 right now, I've got time, so I can do that. Up to you.
I don't, because I procrastinated my assignment.
No worries.
I don't have too much time to film another episode. How about that?
Right, yeah.
Because I have something at 5, and then I gotta start back on my assignment. I don't want to do that assignment, I'm gonna be honest with you.
No worries. I don't always do either.
I'm type of person, but I have to do that assignment. Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording. Folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vulnerability Time. John will literally be back. We're gonna schedule another part. Another time to, talk about it's okay to not know everything, and easy to receive bad, hard to receive good, and I care what people think, and I'm interested to hearing more about that, especially the I care what people think, because I actually found something beautiful about that.
Nice.
Yes, and I'm not gonna forget, because it's been on my mind randomly, and it made me stop seeing that as a weakness in me, that I care what people think. Ooh, suspense, folks. I guess we'll find out truly what that means when John comes back. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording, John. You want to say bye to everyone?
Yep, sure thing.
Yeah, John will be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'm looking forward to the next time as well.